Hi friends, today I have for you a 30-minute class for queer and trans self-love. So you don't have to be part of the LGBTQIA+ community to take this class, but it is designed specifically for that community. So all you'll need today is a mat. You want to have 2 blocks, perhaps a blanket to help support yourself. You can get yourself set up on your mat with that. Today we'll be coming in to a couple different types of poses. We'll be on the mat to start, and then we'll work with some standing poses, coming into a tree for a bit of a balanced pose, but I'm going to offer plenty of different variations along the way so you can take whatever version of this pose works for your body today. So if you are ready, you can go ahead and get seated. We'll start in a comfortable seated position. Whatever that looks like for you is great. You might be sitting on a block or a prop. You might be cross-legged. Wherever you are, find a place of ease. And if it's accessible to you, you can close down your eyes, or perhaps you softly gaze down the tip of your nose. And drop into your breathing here, taking a moment to let whatever came before this fade away. And today we'll be working with the concept of santosha. So this idea of contentment and acceptance. As queer people, we don't always have the luxury of being able to find love or acceptance in the body that we are currently in. So my hope today is that we can bring a little bit of appreciation to our bodies and our minds, even if we're not at the point where we can fully love or accept it. And in this way, we can release some of the suffering, some of the judgment, and find a simple contentment, a simple appreciation for our lungs, for our heart, for our brain, for everything that keeps us alive. You can start to deepen your inhales, lengthen your exhales. Paying attention to the quality and the cadence of your breath. Reminding yourself throughout this practice that these are suggestions, these cues are not meant to be hard and fast rules. So if something doesn't work for you, it's your body and your practice, and please feel free to do any other movement or any other pose that works for you. And as you're ready, you can gently begin to make some circles here with your body, leaning your torso over one knee and then the other, and then coming back as if you were stirring yourself into a cup of coffee or a cup of tea. Making these circles as small or as big as feels good. First going one direction, and then pausing and going the opposite direction. Maybe you make those circles a little bit bigger, maybe you keep them small. Become aware of how your body is feeling today. And you can always adjust your practice to make it a little bit more gentle or a little bit intense based on what you need. Slowly still those circles, coming to a neutral position. And then option here to take some seated cat-cows. So inhaling and arching our back, gazing up towards the ceiling. Exhale, rounding the spine, curling the head, neck, and chin, dropping down. Inhale, arching up, coming into that cow pose. And then exhale, pushing back, curling the spine, coming into cat. And you can take a few more of these following the cadence of your own breath. Your inhales and your exhales might be slower than mine. They might be faster. And when you feel equal and ready, you can slowly come back to a neutral position, pausing for a moment here, paying attention to any sensations in your body. And then we'll turn for a staff position here. If you're seated in the center of your mat, you can stay where you are. I'm just turning here so you can see what I'm doing. So you can extend both of your legs long. See if you can flex your toes as if you were bringing them closer to your face. If you have shorter arms here, this is where a block might be nice. You can put one block on either side of your hips and place your palms against the block, lifting yourself up, really looking for that straight spine here. I have longer arms, so I'll have my palms on the floor, and I'm actually going to put a slight bend in my elbows here. So based on your body and where you're at today, this might look a little bit different for you, but what we want here is that inhale, straight spine, as if you could imagine there's a string pulling the crown of your head up. Flex those toes. Feel the legs activating here. See if you can draw your chin back slightly so that your neck is in line with the back of your spine. And take some deep breaths here. Reminding yourself that at any point a certain pose is causing any kind of discomfort or disassociation in your body, you are welcome to not do it or to take a different version of it or to take any other kind of pose that gives you a sense of grounding, a sense of peace. And then release that, release your hands, your arms. You can walk your feet in a little bit, and we'll set up for a forward fold, but just keep those knees in for a little bit here. If you want to release them, you can do a little windshield wipe to each side of your mat. And when you feel ready, you can extend them once again, flexing those toes so that they're pointing right up towards the sky. Inhale, find that straight spine again. Exhale, pause for a moment here, paying attention to how this feels in your body. Inhale, arms sweep up. And then exhale, slowly hinge forward into a forward fold, coming as far as you can while still keeping that straight spine. So you might not come very far, that's totally fine. And then when you feel like you've reached your edge of the pose where you are here without rounding your back forward, exhale and let your hands drop to your body wherever they fall is absolutely perfect. You might be at your knees, you might be at your shins, perhaps you're at your toes. You can also use your blocks here if you just want a little bit more support. You can have your palms resting on your blocks. Coming into a straight back forward fold here. So find whatever version of this works for you. Take a few breaths here. If you want to drop your head and slightly curl your neck, that's an option too. But see if you can keep that length in your spine. Keep that engagement in your legs, flexing the toes. And on your next inhale, slowly coming back up to an upright seated position, shifting any blocks you might have been using out of the way. And then pulling your legs in again. And then we'll set up for Baddha Konasana, bound angle. So pressing the soles of your feet together and letting your knees fall out to the side. If this feels a little bit too intense, these blocks can be really helpful. You can place them underneath your knees here to offer some support. Inhale, straight spine here. Your hands can come to your feet. Maybe your thumbs press against the soles of your feet, helping to guide the knees a little bit closer to the earth. Finding a way for you to offer some appreciation, some acceptance within yourself today. And perhaps that metamorphosizes into a version of self-love. Perhaps you're not there yet. Wherever you are is where you're meant to be right now. On your next inhale, place a hand on the outside of each knee and bring them in towards the center. And then you can roll over onto your knees, coming into a tabletop position. Your wrists are going to be stacked underneath your shoulders, your knees stacked underneath your hips. Option to stay here in tabletop. If you'd like to take a down dog, you can walk your hands forward, curl your toes under, and lift your hips up towards the ceiling, pushing back into a down dog. But if that's too much for you today, if that's not the vibe you're going for, you can definitely stay in that tabletop position too. So if you're in that down dog, maybe you pedal your feet out. Maybe you put a generous bend in your knees, not really worrying about the heels touching the mat. Let your shoulder blades roll down the back, the eyes of the elbows opening up towards the ceiling. And then when you're ready, you're going to just tiptoe your feet towards the front of the mat so that they can meet your hands, coming into a fold, and then gently rolling yourself up to a standing position, letting your head, neck, and shoulders be the very last thing to reach. Shoulder blades roll down your back. I'll step here so that you can see me. But you can stay at the top of your mat. We'll come into some modified sun cell A. And we'll do these about 3 times. So inhale, sweeping your arms up towards the sky. Exhale, forward fold. You can put a big, generous bend in those knees if that's helpful here. You can also bring a block down so that your palms can rest on the block. Inhale, halfway lift. We're going for that straight spine here. So whether your palms are on the block, on the mat, maybe even on your shins, we're looking for that figure 7 as if your body was creating the number 7 here, so having that flat spine. And then exhale, forward fold. Inhale, sweep your arms back up to the top. Exhale, forward fold down, hands come to the mat or the blocks. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, sweep your arms up. Exhale, fold, come back down, hands to the mat or a block. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, sweep your arms back up to the top. Exhale, pull your palms down to heart center. And then meet in Tadasana, mountain pose, the top of your mat. So in Tadasana, your shoulder blades roll down your spine. Your core is slightly engaged. Your feet are about hips distance apart. Palms are turned out, really feeling that strength, that power, that energy coming up through your spine, out the top of your head. And then from the top of your mat, in your Tadasana pose, we'll set up for Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2. So we'll start with the right leg going back. So inhale and step your right foot back. This can be as big of a step as you want. We're looking for about 3 to 4 feet between our legs here. And see if you can put your feet into about a railroad stance instead of one straight line. That could help with your balance here. And then kick your back heel in, your right toes pointing out towards the side, bending into that front left knee. Inhale, arms come up, Check the back arm. Make sure that you're about straight and even and feel as if your arms could rest on a shelf here. Pause for a moment. Pressing into that back edge of the right foot can help with balance, can help distribute the weight equally. On your next inhale, you can lower that left forearm to the left thigh. The right arm can come up right above you, or it can stretch over the ear, bicep next to the right ear, coming into extended side angle. See if you can lift up with your rib cage so that you're not dumping your weight into that left arm. Inhale, come back up to warrior two. Straighten that leg. Turn your feet to the long side of the mat and then heel toe your feet together enough so that you can step back to the front. Setting up for the same thing on the opposite side. Stepping that left foot back this time. Taking as wide a stance as you need, taking as much space between your legs as you need, and then bending into that front right knee. The left toes are coming out to about a 45-degree angle. Inhale your arms up. Again, check in with that back left arm. Make sure it's as even as you can get it with the front arm. Sink a little bit deeper into that front knee, but make sure your knee is not tracking past your ankle, past your toes. We're looking for it to be stacked and even. Pull your torso back in space slightly. Inhale. And exhale, pressing in to that back edge of the left foot, seeing if you can equally distribute your weight here. Gaze is over that front middle finger. And then your right arm can come to rest on the right thigh. Left arm stretches up overhead or can stretch past your ear, so your left bicep is right against that left ear here, coming into extended side angle. See if you can shine your chest towards the ceiling a little bit more, not dumping our weight into that front knee, but really activating our core and our abdomen to help turn our chest open, pressing into both feet to keep ourselves steady here. Inhale, sweep your arms back up into warrior two. Exhale, extend that right leg. Hands can come to your hips. Turn your feet to the long side of the mat here. Inhale, come into a halfway lift with your legs wide. You can stay right here if you want, or you can bring your block over, or you can forego the block and then place your palms on the mat. Coming into a wide-legged forward fold here. You could also use the block on its highest setting as a little rest for your head. Letting your head, neck, and chest drop low. Taking whatever version of this feels good for your body today. Remembering that we're going for a type of contentment and a type of acceptance in our body, not pushing it too far. Inhale, coming back into that halfway lift. You can be on your block or your palms can be on your hips. And then coming all the way back up to a standing position. And then heel toeing your feet together to the center of the mat, setting up for tree. Inhale, you're going to lift your right leg up, your right heel off of the mat here, and then turn that right heel so that it presses against the left leg. Palms can come to your heart center or your hips, perhaps up in the air. You can stay right here, or if you want, you can lift that right foot off and press it against the left leg. If you want, you can even lift it a little bit further. You might need some help to get there using your foot or your hand to lift your foot up. But wherever you are today is exactly where you're meant to be. If you're having the wobbles, be with the wobbles. That's just your body learning something new. Wherever you are, if your right foot is pressing in, let that left leg press back so you're getting that equal pressure there. Exhaling, releasing that leg, shaking it off, setting up for the opposite side. Inhaling, lifting that left heel off the ground and turning so that your left heel can rest just above the right ankle. Option to stay here. This will definitely help you work on your balance, but if you would like to challenge yourself a little bit more, you can lift that left foot off the mat, pressing it against the right shin. Or if you want, you can help that foot up a little bit further. Wherever you are, we just don't want to make sure that we're not pressing against this knee here. So you can be above the ankle, shin, at the thigh. Just make sure you're not on the knee. And wherever you are, your left foot is going to be pressing equally into that right leg, and the right leg is pressing back. Inhale wherever you are here, offering a bit of acceptance, a bit of contentment with wherever your body is at today. And then exhale, release that foot, shake it out. Inhale your hands up, and then widen your feet slightly, and then sink down into Malasana. You can sit on a block here if this is rather intense. You can push your knees out a little bit more with those elbows. And then if you're sitting on a block, remove it and just roll down to a seated position. Coming down onto your back, slowly rolling down. Seeing if you can engage your core a little bit along the way. And then walking your feet a little bit closer to your sit bones here so that your arms can come along your sides. Maybe your fingers brush against the back of your heels. Inhale. Exhale. Let your body rest here for a moment, paying attention to any sensations or thoughts that might be looking for your attention. And on your next inhale, setting up for a bridge here, so lifting those hips up towards the sky. You can walk your hands underneath and clasp your hands if that feels good, or you can just press your palms into the mat, helping to support. On your exhale, lower your hips down to the mat. Pause for a moment here. And then lift both legs up into a tabletop position, bringing the knees together. Arms can come out to the sides in a T shape. And then let both of your legs drop over towards the right. This can also be a really nice place for a block. You can put that block underneath your stack of knees to offer a little bit of support if they can't come all the way down to the mat or the floor. You don't need that block, you can scooch it out of the way. And send your breath to any areas of the body that might be looking for some attention. See if there's any new space that you've created throughout your practice today. And on your next inhale, lifting those legs back up into tabletop. If you feel like your spine's come a little bit out of alignment since doing that, you can shift around and make sure you're back in a neutral space. Inhale here. And then on your exhale, you're going to drop your knees over to the left this time, letting them fall to the mat, the floor, or resting on a block, whatever feels good. Sending your breath to any areas of the body where there's any static or stickiness. Paying attention to any way where you can bring a little bit more contentment to this pose. And then on your next inhale, lifting those legs back up into tabletop and then placing them on the mat. If it feels good to bring your knees to your chest here, you can do that. Maybe give yourself a little rock. Maybe you come into windshield wipers, letting your knees drop to one side of the mat and then the other, moving slowly as if you're going through molasses. Take whatever final pose here is calling for you that is going to feel good and allow you to release a little bit more. And then whenever you're ready, we'll set up for a Shavasana, which is our final pose, our final moment of integration where we let everything we did in class today really sink in. So you can take Shavasana seated if that works better for you, even standing. If you would like to do the traditional Shavasana, you'll just extend your arms and legs, palms facing up towards the ceiling, feet falling out to the side. Shoulder blades can roll a little underneath your back here so that your chest and collarbone are open. Pull your chin in slightly and let everything relax. In this final Shavasana pose, check in with yourself. Allow yourself to just be. Self-love for queer and trans people can sometimes be very hard, especially if we don't necessarily feel safe or loved in our bodies. But take this time to find a moment of contentment, of appreciation, of acceptance. And if that's too much, if that's too difficult, if that feels too intense, just come back to your breathing, paying attention to your inhales and your exhales, and the depth and the quality of them. If you can stay in this Shavasana for another 5 or 10 minutes, please do so. But if you're coming out of this now, bring some gentle movement back into your body. Maybe wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes. If it feels good, you can extend your arms over your head, coming into a good morning stretch. And whenever you're ready, you can gently roll over to whichever side of the mat brings you the most comfort. And curl in on yourself for a moment, offering yourself a note of gratitude for taking this time to come to your mat, to practice, to find a moment of contentment and acceptance. And then you can gently push yourself back into a seated position, sitting in whatever way is comfortable for you. And then we'll take one last Big inhale together, lifting our hands up towards the sky. And exhaling, bringing our palms in towards heart center, bowing our head to seal our practice. Reminding yourself that everything you need is right here inside you. You just have to ask for it. Thank you for practicing with me. I'm Toga. Be well.